Yesterday, prosecutors went head-to-head with defense attorneys for Bryan Kohberger over the admissibility of key pieces of evidence during a marathon motions hearing that will shape the trial for the man accused of killing 4 University of Idaho students. After hearing arguments from both sides, Judge Stephen Hippler made some rulings about what evidence can be submitted at the upcoming trial of Kohberger, who faces 4 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Let's take a look at the evidence being considered by the judge. So we heard for the first time yesterday that the defense wants to call an expert witness to say that based on the crime scene, they believe there were 2 killers who used 2 weapons. The defense also said that they were following up on a tip that they found in the thousands of tips that the police had received that they believe could lead to an alternate suspect. Now, Judge Hippler said he'd give the defense until May to show him evidence linking this alternative suspect to the crime before he decides if he'll allow them to use it in trial. The prosecutors also said that they plan to present evidence that Kohberger's DNA was found on a knife sheath that was laying on the bed next to Mogen's body at the crime scene. The judge also, over defense objections, said that the prosecution can call an expert witness to testify about an Amazon account shopping data. The prosecution wants to argue that it shows that months before the murders, Kohberger bought a knife, a sheath, and a sharpener consistent with the sheath found at the crime scene. The court said they will also be allowed to bring up a product search for similar items done days after the murders. The judge said that the defense, on the other hand, can argue that the Amazon account is shared with other people, so Kohberger might not be the buyer in question. Now, as for the surviving roommate's eyewitness description of a masked man that she saw in the house at the time of the murders, the defense objected to this, calling the witness unreliable and inconsistent. The prosecution, of course, wants to use this evidence because she describes a man dressed in black with bushy eyebrows, which arguably Kohberger has. The judge said that he'd rule on this one later. Now, there's a lot of cell phone activity between the 2 surviving roommates on the morning of the murders that goes on for hours before they finally call 911. The defense wants all of that data to come in, but the judge said he wants to hear testimony from the 2 roommates before he rules on this one. But he did indicate that he is likely going to allow most, if not all, of the harrowing 911 call. The defense has also raised the issue of Kohberger's autism spectrum disorder diagnosis. They want to be able to tell the jury about it, to explain some of his behavior. They also want to use it in arguing against the death penalty for Kohberger. The judge said that he would give his ruling on this one in a written opinion later. Also, Kohberger wants his parents and 2 sisters to be allowed in the courtroom audience for support. But prosecutors say they may call them as witnesses, so they need to be kept out of the courtroom until they testify. The judge said he thought it was important for the family to be able to see the trial and asked the prosecution to try and call them as witnesses early in the case if they could. Now, the case is back in court on May 15th.